I tucked my son Jason into bed like I did every other night. His room was dimly lit by the soft glow of his nightlight. He smiled up at me, his big blue eyes sparkling with a mixture of exhaustion and trust. "Good night, buddy," I whispered, kissing his forehead. He let out a big yawn and nestled into his pillow. "Daddy, will you do me a favour and check under the bed for monsters?" he asked, his voice small and timidly. I chuckled softly, trying to alleviate his fears. "Of course, buddy. No monsters are going to get past me." I knelt beside his bed, my knees pressing into the carpet. I lifted up the skirt of the bed, peering up into the dark abyss beneath the mattress. As my eyes adjusted, I saw a small figure huddled there, trembling. "Daddy," Jason's voice quivered. "There's someone on my bed." My heart raced as fear flooded me. I looked back up in the bed, and there, lying in the exact spot I had just left him, was Jason. His eyes were closed, breathing slow and steady, as if he were fast asleep. My mind reeled, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. I turned my attention back under the bed where the other Jason was, cowering, eyes wide with terror. "Daddy, please help me," he whispered urgently. I backed away, my breath quickening. What's going on?" I stammered. The Jason on the bed suddenly sat up, his eyes snapping open. They were no longer the familiar blue, but an inky black and sunken into his face. He grinned a sickening grin, its expression that twisted his features into something I didn't recognize. "Is something wrong, Daddy?" the Jason on the bed asked, his voice dripping with venom. I stumbled up to my feet, my heart pounding in my chest. "Stay away from him," I shouted, though I didn't know who I was addressing. The figure under the bed reached out, a trembling hand pleading. "Daddy, it's me. The one on the bed isn't me. Please, you have to believe me." I was paralysed, unable to comprehend the nightmare that was unfolding before me. The Jason on the bed slowly got up, his movements unnatural and malevolent. "There's no need to be afraid," he said, his voice cold and mockingly. "You see, Daddy, I'm the real one now." That thing that looked like Jason began to change, its skin darkening and stretching, its bones cracking and breaking and elongating. It was transforming into something monstrous right before my eyes. Its mouth widened into a gaping maw of decay. I backed away, feeling for the door, with my mind screaming at me to run. But before I could move, the creature lunged at me, its claw-like hand wrapping around my throat with a vice grip. I gasped for air, struggling against its inhuman strength. The real Jason's cries echoed from under the bed. "Daddy, no!" The creature leaned in close, its breath hot and rancid against my face. "Don't worry," it said. "I'll take good care of him." With a final violent twist, everything went black. When I awoke, I was no longer in Jason's room. The air was damp and cold, and the ground beneath me hard and unforgiving. I struggled to sit up, my body aching all over. I was in a dark, narrow space, barely able to move. I realised with a mounting horror that I was under Jason's bed, trapped in the same place where I'd found my son. I began to scream, pounding against the wooden slats above me, but no sound seemed to penetrate the darkness. And above I could hear the creature's mocking laughter mingling with my son's terrified cries. "Daddy, please help me." But I was powerless, forced to listen to the torment of my son. The monster had taken my place, and I was left to rot in the shadows, forever haunted by the nightmare I couldn't escape.